Thanks for listening to Westplex Talk. Find out more at westplextalk.com. Now it's back to the two guys who were described by talk show expert Jeff Allen from News Talk STL as the best talk duo he's heard since Charles Jaco and Peanuts the Squirrel. It's Brad and John.
It's Brad and John, the best talk show duo since Charles Jaco and Peanuts the Squirrel. Do you like that, John?
I'll just add a gif of Charles Jaco giving a big thumbs up over in the Iraq War.
Charles Jaco he's still around. He turned into a nutbag. Have you ever...
He seems pretty angry on social media, yeah. He certainly doesn't like Donald Trump, I think, which might be our understatement of the week.
Pretty angry is like an understatement of the... And what's interesting about it is, if you read his posts, some of them are very, very, very incendiary posts where he goes after you and me, white folks. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking.
Yeah, I do know. I don't know if we need to give that a whole lot of oxygen on our show, Brad.
You don't like the Charles Jaco thing?
Oh, no, I don't know him. No, I did an interview with him one time. It was great. It was out at some event that I was speaking at. He was fine to me.
He must have been a good day for him then, right? He must have been on his meds that day.
He might have been. I don't know.
I'm trying to get another cease and desist letter from somebody. So,
I think you should go. I think you should continue hitting where you struck gold before, Brad.
Where's that? With Tracy?
That's with the. That's with the. Anyway, I got us off track. What did you have for C Block, Brad?
Okay. Your opinion, once again, we do the show live. If you're listening to this live, it's live right now between 7 and 8 o'clock. We broadcast it over the radio and in addition to on our streaming channel. But we chop it up after the show's over and we put it out on our podcast and on our YouTube channel. Okay? So those of you who listen to this is not live. And this is the morning of the election. This is right now we are in the 7 o'clock hour on November 5th. And everybody, if you read all the polls, it's like nobody is going to say with any definitive what's going to happen because the polls are effectively tied. John, you're the political guru. Let's hear what you think is going to happen today.
Donald Trump wins.
Seriously? You really think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I do.
I still go by my prediction. I think it's going to be Kamala.
I appreciate you staying with that. And Brad, I was with you until a couple weeks ago, and it was around that time of the disastrous Fox News interview, which I don't think changed any votes. But I do feel, and this is hard to quantify except for in national polls, I do feel like she was on a honeymoon with the electorate, and I feel like it started to slip probably 3 or so weeks ago. And I will say I felt good in 2016 about Donald Trump. I didn't feel good in 2020. I thought that Biden was going to win. I didn't think it would be as close as it was. And I think that Donald Trump wins tonight. I think that it comes down to Pennsylvania, and I haven't seen an electoral map where Kamala wins without Pennsylvania.
Well, here we go again, which essentially happened in 2020. What the entire election, if you take all the states that we're counting as far as electoral college wins for Biden, if you add up all the votes, wasn't like 50 or 60,000 votes that if they would have gone the other way?
Yeah, it was super close. And now you've stayed with Kamala, Brad, and you successfully predicted Trump back in 2016. You were right about Joe Biden in 2020. Let's say, for the sake of just playing this out, Kamala Harris wins. To me, the Republican Party figures out what it is without Donald Trump at the top.
Well, it has to.
Don't you think that's true?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you think Trump will want to hang around and run the party? What do you think?
There's no way. He's got it. I mean, he's going to be ushered to the sidelines by the Republican Party.
I think you're right, Brad.
Yeah, because they're going to say, Mr. Trump, you know what? You have 4 great years as president. You ran 2 great campaigns, and let's say he loses, both of which were not successful. It's time for you to enjoy your grandkids. It's time for you to build more buildings. It's time for you to fly around in Trump Force One. You know what? We appreciate everything you've done, but it's time for us to come up with a new leader of the party. And, because what is he, 77 now? I mean, and let's, once again, he's in incredible health, but still, in another election cycle, he'd be 81 when he'd start.
Yeah. And my only objection to that, Brad, is that I'm sure folks tried that 4 years ago And we saw what happened. Now, a lot can happen in 4 years, and he did get 4 years older. I just think this is one of the rare elections in which if Trump wins, Republicans win because Trump won. And if Trump loses, the party has to look and say, are we the party of Trump, or are we the party of Trump's policies, or who are we? Now let's not take Trump back and well, we can't say those words on the radio and on YouTube, but let's not end his political career so soon, because I still think he's going to win. But there are worse things that could happen. I mean, there's a path forward for Republicans if Donald Trump loses.
Well, we talked about this in the last block, where I gave the example of you have to essentially be a I'm the guy that's always, talking about disruption, and you have to be the disruptor. But the perfect example of this was, if you go back and look at the debates, if you look at the very first series of presidential debates in 2016 with the Republicans, the interesting part of that is Donald Trump stood out head and shoulders among every single candidate, and I say for one particular reason. Take a guess of why I say that?
Well, because he was unconventional. Like, he wasn't playing by the political rules.
He was not being coached by the quote-unquote experts. He was
no Jeb Bush.
Right. He was just going out there and just shooting from the hip like he always does. And once again, I think to a certain extent, you've seen that situation was, and you and I have talked about this, over the past 2 weeks, he's gotten so comfortable with running for president again. He's up there on stage, and he's like, hey, you know what? It's another day. I'm just running for president. I'm just a small town guy. And I think what's interesting about it is, and I can't believe it took this long. If you watch some of the stuff he did last night, he's saying, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? You have to make that decision. And the sad part of it is, Kamala Harris still has not come out and said anything what she's going to do. She hasn't come out and said, and to the point which is kind of spooky, because remember, we elected Biden as a moderate, and that's not how he came out, because within the first, 24 hours with his executive actions, which essentially caused the problem at the border and still has the problem at the border. And I find it fascinating the Democrats are saying, well, the problem with the border is not Biden or Harris, it's the Congress. They wouldn't pass this bill. Okay, once again, we're the United States of America, okay? If we put our mind to it, we said, okay, we're going to shut that border down, the border would be shut down, right? I mean,
absolutely.
And to the point where we've got the resources, we've got the technology, we've got the people, we've got the construction crews. I know there's pictures of the guys, they're climbing over the border wall, and there's guys that show up with their Milwaukee 18-volt grinders that grind a hole in the board, the wall and stuff like that. I get that. But in other words, the irony to me is, what is around the White House that keeps the riffraff out? Tell me, what is that? You know what it is?
It's wrought iron.
It's called a fence. Once again, when you go to the prison, you can drive by old Route 66 there in the prison there in Pacific. When you drive by the prison, there's a fence. The fence is not there to keep people out. It's to keep people in. And it does a pretty damn good job of that. You know what I mean?
I do know, yeah.
If you got a dog and you want to let him run loose in your backyard, and you don't want him jumping and, running up to your next door neighbor while he's barbecuing and biting him on the leg, you put a fence up. And once again, we're not talking high tech. And the Democrats are going to say, oh, we need more high tech on the border. No, we don't. We just need a fence and a bunch of dudes down there, to say, okay, and once again, once word gets around that, and it's like the things going on in San Francisco when they changed the law about under $1,000, you're not going to get arrested for shoplifting. Guess what? Everybody goes and shoplifts.
Absolutely.
Because of the fact
it's an open invitation.
Right.
Take what you want.
It's like, okay, we're not going to get arrested. Let's go steal $1,000 worth of stuff. And we'll put it up on eBay, or sell it, or we'll sell it for pennies on the dollar to somebody who's fencing the stuff and stuff like that. So once again, I don't know. State, it's pretty much cut and dry with all the Republicans, don't you think?
Yeah. And I think there's some. We'll talk about this. I should plug too. I can't believe I haven't done this. Tonight, election night special for folks who are listening now or listening to this on YouTube. You can go to the Missouri Times YouTube channel, or you can go to johncomas.com and click on the top link. Scott Faughn and I, starting at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, We'll be going through all the Missouri election results. You can put us up on your YouTube TV or watch us on YouTube and then continue scrolling national, news feeds for the presidential stuff. But we'll be going through all the statewide races. And, Brad, we will be focusing on some of these really contentious state legislative races. There's a really tight race in West St. Louis County for state senate. There's some close House races, including races in St. Charles County for state legislative races that are left vacant by Republicans. So it'll be a great show, 7:30 tonight on YouTube.
Interesting. Now, how late are you going to go? You just going to say till everything calms down?
We're going to go until the last state senate race, until the last competitive state senate race is called. So I expect, Brad, I would expect that would be around 10:30 or 11 o'clock tonight.
So you're driving down there then, right?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Are you going to stay down there tonight or are you coming back?
Well, Brad, I don't generally talk about when I'm going to leave my house and my security system unattended. So, yes, that's a great question, Brad. Thank you for asking.
I'm sorry, John. But I'm looking at the aspect. Are you going to be here ready to do the show tomorrow at 7 o'clock?
What has happened the last 2 times that I went to Jeff City?
You got drunk and you climbed up the flagpole in front of the Capitol building.
Just like the last 2 times I've been to Jeff City. I will be here on the air with you.
Okay, cool. And is it just you and Scott, or are there other people as well, too?
It's Scott and I, and as for folks who watched it last time, we have guests come into the studio. We go around to different election night parties, and we Zoom or Skype people in, and they can give us a report from their campaign, victory parties or defeat parties, as it may be.
Scott's got a pretty cool place down there, I hear.
It's fantastic. And again, Kelton Turner is his producer, and Kelton has his own team. I mean, yesterday I called Kelton the quarterback. Scott's like the head coach, and Kelton is like the offensive and defensive coordinator and special teams and everything. Like, he does it all. Scott and Kelton just have a fantastic operation.
Okay, now, there's a persona you see with Scott Faughn when you see him on TV. You see him on when he does, the thing where he has like the news anchor desk, and then there's the thing where he's sitting at his desk where he does like what's he call that? The
midweek update.
The midweek update. Okay. Once again, for media people, he seems like a really nice guy. Is he like that really in real life, or is he a jerkazoid?
So 100%. Yeah, I mean, what you see on screen is exactly who Scott is. There are probably 2 handfuls of people in the political realm that I consider real life friends, like that I would be friends with if I wasn't involved in politics. Like, Scott is a real life friend. So I'm biased about him personally. But I will say that what you see on camera is exactly what you get. Like, there's not any pretense. He's not doing like a good old boy shtick like that. What you see on screen is really who Scott is.
And he's become like sort of almost like a go-to person in Jefferson City. He's become very, very to the point where if you can get on Scott Faughn's show, you're doing pretty well, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And, the niche that he filled was that you had mainstream media. And, Brad, you and I have talked about this every week since we've done the show. You have a really biased media operation that had a certain point of view and that didn't give them the time to come on and talk. So if you are a Democrat, if you're Elad Gross, what other outlet is going to have you on for 15 minutes to talk in your own words about the campaign? And what other outlet is going to let Andrew Bailey come on for 15 minutes and talk about his priorities? And it's a niche thing, and there's only X amount of people in the state who really care about politics on a daily basis. But what I love about it, what I really like about Scott's operation is for folks who are just scrolling Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, and maybe you don't follow politics every day, you'll see an interesting quote from Democrat Ashley Awney or Crystal Quaid or Mike Kehoe, and you'll stop for a minute and you'll say, hey, what's this all about? And you wouldn't have gotten that from Channel 5. You wouldn't have gotten that from Woke 41 in Kansas City. It's a really fresh way to present this type of content.
Well, and to a certain extent, what we try to do here, because of the fact that I say up front, anybody who wants to be on the air, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, you're, Communist Party, you're whatever, Green Party, Libertarian, we want to hear what you have to say, as opposed to some radio stations that only have the non-rhinos, but the radio station is owned by it's not owned, it's leased by the Kinos. Isn't that something something? Doesn't that sound...
I went to a brand new website today that I only heard about on the air today that apparently has a new logo. And I heard, do you listen to Tracy's station? Then you'll love Westplex Talk.
John, are you upset that I'm not keeping you up to date on my little crazy little plans and things
No,
like that?
I only dedicate half of my workday to this station and this operation. Why should I need to know these kind of things, Brett?
I was bored last night and I finished off the website. Well, it's not totally finished, but it's about 80% finished. And John, you'll be happy to know that most of the Latin is gone. So
that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, John. So tomorrow we probably will know a lot more than we know right now as far as the national and the state and local situation.
And we'll know, all the Republican statewide victories will be confirmed. And you say, well, maybe there's a chance. No, there's not a chance. And 1/3 of the candidates who advertise on Westplex will have won their election. And we might know who the president is.
And once again, plug, you're going to be on starting 7:30. How do people watch that?
Go to johncombest.com, click on the top link, or look for This Week in Missouri Politics on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and you'll find the links.
John, have a fun time in Jefferson City, and I have to warn you, that place is like a mini Las Vegas. It's like what happens in Jefferson City stays in Jefferson City. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you mean. I'll talk to you at 7 a.m., Brad.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?